Hello, I'm Kimberley Dondo, Digital Content Manager, and welcome to the In Conversation With series, a series where I speak to notable figures in the realm of financial services. Listen as they share their personal journeys, thoughts on the industry, and advice for aspiring advisors. Hello and welcome to the Money Marketing Podcast. I'm Kimberley Dondo and I am the Digital Content Manager at Money Marketing Mag. I'm joined today by Jess, who will introduce herself and give her a bit of background about who she is and what she does.
Yes, hi, I am Jess McGuigan and I'm a Chartered Wealth Planner at Kingswood Group. I've been advising probably about 4 or 5 years now. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I'm excited to sort of give you a little bit of background about how I got into financial planning, really.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, let's start there. What was your initial entryway into financial services?
Yeah, so I think I had quite an unusual start into the profession. Mm-hmm. In that I actually got offered sort of a 6-week temp contract in the post room.
Okay.
So, I was just sort of doing some scanning and posting, and I think after that they offered sort of me a full-time position, sort of doing admin. Mm-hmm. So becoming a financial administrator. And then once I sort of got into the role and learned a bit more about sort of financial services and also financial planning as a profession, I then, wanted to do my studies, sort of did my level 4, moved into a paraplanner role, and then basically said, I want to be out in the field, I want to be client facing. And here I am now, really. So it's been quite a quick journey, mm-hmm. but a really rewarding one all the same.
Yeah, it sounds it. What drew you to kind of continue on the path to get to where you are now? What was it about the profession that attracted you?
Well, I think that I left school sort of without any A-levels, mm-hmm. and spent a lot of my sort of early years working in bars and sort of like hospitality, nightclubs and things like that. So I think to sort of start to learn about the profession and how far I could, how far it can take you, and not having to have any qualifications to do that, was sort of what motivated me. And once I started doing my first exam and I passed that, it just made me sort of want to carry on and do and finish them off, basically. Mm-hmm. And then I think also as you move through from a administrator to a power planner, some people feel like they're more comfortable. They might want to stay behind the scenes, mm-hmm. and stay sort of in more of the support role and power planner role. And power planners are absolutely invaluable. Mm-hmm. We wouldn't be able to give provide this sort of job and the service we do without them. But I think because I'm quite a people person and I saw the effects that giving good quality advice can have on people's lives, that's mm-hmm. what made me want to go sort of into the forefront of client facing and sort of become a fully fledged financial advisor.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. I also find it interesting that you've had kind of that experience of being a paraplanner and then now becoming a financial advisor. How do you think those two have complemented each other to where you are now?
Yeah, so I think even being an administrator, I think that mm-hmm. when it comes to sort of the different roles within a team or within the profession, each one complements each other and needs each other. We need to have a good working team who will support each other. And mm-hmm. by being a power planner, I think I understand how hard that role is as well.
Yeah,
much how much you need to know, how technical it is. It's sort of really, and obviously as much as advisors have to keep up with the changing rules, of any sort of any rules that come in to do with the financial sector, and let rule change in legislation, just as much as the power planners have to keep up to date with it as well, because it can affects their job. So I think that being wary of how much and understanding the role that the power planners actually do can make your relationship with your power planner as you become an advisor a lot better and a lot stronger and more efficient, really.
Yeah. Going back to your time as a paraplanner, I remember a couple of months ago, we kind of put out a poll that was mildly controversial, shall I say, actually very controversial, where we asked whether, being a paraplanner was a profession. And a lot of paraplanners were speaking very passionately. And like we always encourage, we want paraplanners to kind of speak to us and give their perspectives as well. So what are your feelings on some people that might not think being a paraplanner is an actual profession?
Well, obviously, personally, I think it is I think it's 100% profession. I think it's they're incredibly vital. So I think that for anyone that says that, perhaps should see what it feels like without having a paraplanner on side to do what they need to do, to do their role for them, really. I think that being a paraplanner myself and being in that role, my technical ability is probably better than some advisors who haven't had a paraplanner, but there's still times that I need to go and ask my paraplanners questions and ask them how to do certain things, because from a technical aspect, their technical ability is just unmatched. A really good paraplanner, they can really like I said, you complement each other's roles. I don't think it's one working alongside. It's sort of working in two separate ways. It's two professions complementing each other, I think.
Yeah.
To provide the wrapped up financial advice service.
Yeah, working kind of like a cohesive ecosystem, essentially.
Exactly. Yeah. And each role has its own part to play.
Yeah. So now, as a financial advisor, what would you say are your biggest challenges that you face?
I think obviously, number one, I'm quite I'm a younger advisor, so I think that like anyone sort of coming into the role or becoming an advisor, naturally the typical client base are sometimes people approaching retirement, post-retirement, that can be the typical type of client. And I think that as a young advisor, it can sometimes feel a bit daunting to be trying to essentially advise or give advice to somebody who's older than you.
Yeah.
But I think I used to think that. I used to be quite, I used to feel a little bit wary or just conscious of that fact. But I think as time's gone on and I've become more experienced, I'm probably a little bit older as well, you realise that as long as you sort of, you come in with that expertise and you sort of hold your own and, you provide good advice, then it doesn't hinder you at all. I think being a younger advisor, and if anything, it comes with a lot more benefits because you're able to show perhaps your clients things in a different light from a younger perspective.
Yeah, and
also obviously because we're newer advisors into the profession, we tend to be a lot more sort of up to date on changing trends and changing markets, changes in legislation than perhaps some of the older advisors anyway. So I'd say that would probably be one of mine. And then I think I think also just obviously there is a lot of work involved, especially with getting qualified and also maintaining that competence. So obviously you have to do your CPD and make sure that each year you do a certain amount of hours to prove that you are keeping up to date with sort of all the changes in the world, and that your knowledge and your sort of technical ability, it stays up to scratch. So there is obviously outside work that needs to be done as well, other than seeing clients. But I think as long as you manage your diary efficiently and put clients first as well, then and just stay organised, then it's that makes it a bit easier.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of I guess conversation around attracting more younger advisors, and in turn younger clients, because like you're saying, the majority of your clients are kind of looking at retirement and looking at advice for that. For you, what would you say is needed to attract, I guess my question is to attract younger people into the advice profession, and also to attract younger people who could, benefit very much from getting advice from like an earlier stage in their life, rather than when they're actually already retiring.
Yeah. I think the key is awareness about the role. I think a lot of people, even my age, when I was younger, they didn't fully understand what a financial planner or a financial advisor did. A lot of people think that, you go to a financial advisor when you need a mortgage, or they'd get confused in what we can actually provide, and how vast the advice is that we can provide. So I think awareness and also showing a bit, making people a bit more aware of what we do in our roles. And I think that is changing. It's been really, really good recently, because I'm seeing a lot more financial planners in mainstream media.
Yeah.
So, for example, there's a fantastic advisor who's a good friend of mine called Makala Green. She was the first chartered Black financial planner, and she was named her. And she, she's out there on This Morning. She's out there in tabloid magazines, doing articles as a financial planner. And I think that is things like that, and getting more young people out into more of the mainstream world, rather than sort of in our little sort of finance bubble, really help and show people and be a bit like, what does this financial advisor do, and show the vast range of topics and areas that we can cover and we can specialise in, is going to be key. And I think we are seeing that change, because I think that financial advisors used to have quite a bad stigma and quite a bad reputation. So I think a lot of people think of financial advisors, as these men in suits that come knock on your door trying to steal your money or trying to scam you and things like that. So I think now, we're trying to bring change. So trying to bring this young, fresh breath of fresh air into the profession is key, I think. And so that for attracting young talent, and then also, again, for attracting new clients, I think that everyone knows we're in this era at the moment where a lot of people are, it's the year of everyone wants to. Well, there's a lot more entrepreneurs. People are starting their own businesses, especially young women. I'm seeing lots and lots of young women now out there sort of starting their own businesses and not wanting to conform to the normal 9 to 5. Now, those people are knowing that, they need accountants, but then they're maybe perhaps not so aware that, there's also, they could have financial advice, that they need financial advice in that as well. So I think it's more just about spreading awareness and honing in and finding topics which people will be interested in to read, to engage them in that aspect, I think.
Yeah. I find that whole like entrepreneurship and people being kind of self-employed piece very interesting for me, particularly because I have a sister who, when she was 14, started a YouTube channel. We thought it was just this hobby thing that she was doing. 10, 12 years later, it's her full career, right? And I wish I had been aware of financial advisors when she was first starting and she was getting these brand deals and stuff like that, because I think if she had an accountant, sure, to make sure that she's not like doing crazy things with her taxes, right? But when it comes to like advice of planning for her future and putting aside money for her retirement, she's still like 25, 26, so she doesn't need to really, she thinks she doesn't need to think about that. But now I'm kind of pushing her more and being like, you need someone to advise you on these things. And I think that is a possible market that advisors should be looking at, like these new younger start like entrepreneurs or social media influencers. They have these big pots of money that come randomly, but they don't necessarily have someone advising them to plan, no matter how good they might be with money. Yeah.
No, I agree. And the really interesting thing is that the way I see it is a lot of times when people ask me what the difference between an accountant is and a financial advisor is that accountants look back. Always look at the past. And then obviously financial advisors, we look at the future. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the time people will have to look at the past because they need to look at the past. But some people are, you're more reluctant because it's not as urgent to look forward to the future. But obviously the more you look towards the future and the more you plan, that whole fail to plan to fail. Saying that once you start looking at it and get a plan in place, then it's future you's gonna thank you, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Like I think that is definitely how you have to think of it. So for you, being a younger woman in this industry, has that been challenging, or have you had that imposter syndrome thing happen at all, or and if so, how have you kind of learned to overcome that?
So I definitely had imposter syndrome. I think starting out as well, I was very much I think starting out I very much sort of struggled to feel like I was keeping up or that I wasn't good enough. And I find that I have to, when I go into a room, I used to find I had to really sort of masculinize myself. And because I would be walking into a room where there'd be barely any women there. There's been times when I've walked in, especially when I started, where I was actually, the only woman there. So I think that, so that's how it started. But then as time's gone on, I've actually found that being in a minority has actually done me loads of favours. Mm-hmm. because of the way that the profession is changing now, and we're trying to attract new women in. I can help be one of those people in those positions to try and help, encourage and show people and get it out there that, there are women in this profession that do very, very well, who clients, who are very respected by clients. And also, I think as times change, a lot of people are now wanting to actually see female financial advisors over male financial advisors, especially when we're trying to attract more female clients. It's statistically now that over 50% of marriages sadly end in divorce. Right. So we need to, and a lot of those women, and it's also been known that typically women will change advisors if say their husband and wife have been advisors that want to change. So there's that element as well of to think about. Mm-hmm. So I think that it's a really exciting time for women in the profession, and it's the right time for women to come into the profession because there's lots and lots of opportunities and doors that will open being a woman in this profession. And I think it's really exciting to see how it's changing and to be a part of that at this early stage, I think. Yeah.
No, I think that is a very important piece because one of our feature writers, Amanda, she has been doing a lot of focus on like women and like divorce, and also if in the event that a partner dies, and in most cases women tend to outlive their male partners, and they found that a lot of these women might never have dealt, or the advisor never even thought to deal with the wife, always dealing with the husband. Therefore, when it comes to it and the woman is left with like all of these assets, she will probably go off and find someone else because the advisor never had engaged with her. So she wasn't comfortable. So she goes off to find that person. So I think there is a very important piece in kind of, making sure that both parties, if you have a husband and wife clients, that you make sure that they're both engaged.
Yeah. No, I agree. Completely agree.
So for you, where do you see the future in terms of like financial advice? Where do you see the industry moving forward?
I think at the moment we're seeing lots and lots of changes now. We're seeing lots and lots of young advisors coming through. And I think the statistic of older to younger is now starting to balance out. I think it's near about 50-50 now. And that's probably with great help from things like next gen planners and the sort of lots of the campaigns to get younger people in. And I think with that, that's going to bring a new sort of fresh outlook to the profession as a whole, as I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
And obviously these advisors as well, these people that are coming in as well, they have things like regulation, which the older advisors have to sort of learn, have to have sort of ridden through as the regulation changes. All these new advisors that are coming in, they don't know any different. So it means that as people coming in, you're a lot more enthusiastic, I think, because whereas the older advisors, they feel like they get weighed down on all these regulatory changes and things like that. So I think there's going to be a bit of an energy burst as such into the profession. And with that, I'm hoping will bring ideas of how we can, close that financial advice gap. So the people that can't necessarily afford advice at the moment, the more young sort of advisors and the young talent that we get in, the more ideas are going to start coming out of how we can approach the clients, the people out there that need financial advice. And I think you're already seeing it at the moment. There's there's lots more sort of even like self-investing platforms, like things like that, trying to engage younger people into it. And even I think even seeing things on, I think I was on the Tube recently, and they even sort of have they start to bring, there was some sign about sort of sustainable investing and trying to get a lot more awareness about it, and like, where's your pension invested? I think there's lots more sort of trying to bring awareness to just general financial planning. And also I think that the younger generation in general are actually a lot more sort of savvy when it comes to, and because there's so much more materials out there, there's going to be ways that we can provide financial advice because of sort of things like that, because it's virtual means and sort of online chats and things like that. There will be ways which sort of impartial advice can be provided now, I think, to those younger clients. I think we just need to get the younger gen of advisors in to sort of give us some ideas of how to do it, really.
No, I think that is definitely important, because there was a point, especially during the pandemic, with like a lot of people doing the what was like the meme stocks and investing into like get rich quick things. And I think like that's very dangerous. And also I think there is that kind of thing with younger people where we do think we know a lot, because we have, we've always been on the internet. We've learned things have changed so quickly, and you can do a Google and then think you know a lot. But I think there is that missing piece of being like, I should still go to someone to make sure this is sustainable, and also have that long-term piece in mind as well. So from someone who's basically spent quite a long time, almost a decade, in financial services, what would you what advice would you give someone who is aspiring to be where you are now?
I'd probably say when it comes to becoming an advisor, just be authentic and be yourself as much as possible. I think that you tend to, sometimes you can meet people and things like anxiety, or when you're trying to have a conversation with people, or you're trying to pretend to be confident, it can tend to perhaps, lead you down the path of not being fully yourself, or overcomplicating things to try and perhaps show that you're competent and sort of you're knowledgeable. But from my experience, now just completely being myself, and just treating my clients as people, and letting them into my lives as well as them letting into my lives, is the key to, I think, building really good relationships with people. And just enjoy it. It's a great profession to be in. You get to meet so many interesting people and go to really interesting places. And at the end of the day, you get to give people advice and change lives and make their lives so much better. So that'd probably be my final bit of advice.
No, I love that, because I think people forget how rewarding a career it actually can be. As like, it's not just a job where you just go and you leave it. You probably come back home and think, wow, I changed someone's life today. Like, how many people are able to say that?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you've got to bear in mind, you've got doctors and dentists who have gone to uni for years, 7-8 years, but they have no idea what a pension is. So to be able to sit down with somebody, who can be so educated, when it just comes to money, number one, people avoid talking about it. Number two, it's a minefield. There's so many different aspects to it. So to be able to sit and just explain to someone simply, and just, it might even just be something tiny that you can just say or do to put something in perspective for them, or probably help them to put a financial plan in place. Now that can really, really, really make a difference, and to yourself as well. It's such a confidence booster, being able to give someone good advice and them coming back to you and being like, you know what, Jess, that advice was 5 years later, being like, that advice you gave me was absolutely spot on. Like, it's really rewarding.
Okay. Fantastic. Thank you so much for speaking with me, Jess. And I think that the audience will really kind of take some of the gems that you just put out there. Thank you. And we'll see you in the next one.
Perfect. Thank you, Kimberley.
Thank you for listening to In Conversation With. We do hope that you enjoyed it. Please do keep up to date with all our new releases via Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere else you get your podcasts from. You can also keep up to date with all our new content published on the Money Marketing website, as well as our print edition Money Marketing magazine. So make sure to subscribe. Follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. See you next time.